The alien fleet floated silently in deep space. Their engines were cold. Life support was failing. No suns nearby, no planets, no signals, just darkness. It had been 17 days since the explosion of the nearby star. The shockwave destroyed their fuel stations, navigation satellites, and most of their long-range comms. Now, they were truly lost. Inside the command ship Veritak, Commander Wita stared at the flickering lights on his console. His long fingers trembled slightly. They had sent over 100 distress calls across known galactic channels. Not a single reply. Not from allies. Not even from neutral traders. The galaxy had left them behind. His second-in-command entered the control room. Still no response. She said quietly. YKTA nodded. We are ghosts now. Supplies, he asked. 3 days of oxygen? 2 days of food? Less than that for power. Silence filled the room. Then, something changed. A small light blinked in the corner of the display font, old and strange. Not a distress signal, not a command alert. Something else. Something ancient. Ikta leaned forward. What is that? Liren checked. It's a signal weak. It's bouncing through the sublayer frequencies. Wait, ... It's not in any of our databases. It's old. Very old. Translate it. A few moments passed. The translator crackled to life. The voice that came through was robotic, slow, and deep. It said only one thing. Human Protocol 9A received. Preparing response. Wita's eyes widened. Humans, Liren whispered. They vanished centuries ago. Impossible, YKTA replied. The last human colony went dark 300 years ago. No ships. No transmissions. Not even relics. They're extinct. Yet the signal repeated. Human Protocol 9A received. Stand by. The fleet officers began whispering. Fear, hope, confusion, all mixed in the room like heavy smoke. A technician shouted from another console. Commander, I'm picking up movement in the void. Ships, Wita asked, standing up quickly. Yes, ... But not alien, not council, not pirate. A hologram appeared, showing blurry shapes approaching from the blackness. At first, they looked like shadows. But then, engines lit up dim and controlled. No aggressive stance. No weapons armed one by one. The ships entered view. Dozens of them. Dark metal, old-style design, thick armor, and no visible insignia. YKTA leaned closer to the display. Zoom in on their markings. The screen adjusted. On the largest ship, a single faded word appeared. Earth's Force, the command room, fell silent. It was like time had stopped. Waikata's voice was a whisper now. They answered. Liren's voice cracked with disbelief. But why would humans help us? Why now? Where have they been all this time? The comm system came alive once more. A message was broadcast in perfect galactic standard. Alien fleet. We received your call. Help is coming. Do not resist our boarding teams. Boarding, Liren asked, alarmed, but Wita raised a hand. Wait, if they wanted to harm us, they wouldn't warn us. In the distance, the human ships began releasing smaller craft boarding shuttles. They moved with precision, as if following an ancient drill. No panic, no waste. Just focus. Crew members across the alien fleet watched in silence. For some, it felt like seeing ghosts. For others, it felt like watching legends come alive. One young officer whispered. They said humans vanished, but maybe they were just waiting. Wita watched the approaching ships, his heart heavy with questions. Were these the same humans from history, or something different? Something more? Whatever the answer was, one thing was clear. In the deepest, darkest part of the galaxy where everyone else had turned away, humans had returned, and the real story was only beginning. The alien fleet floated in silence as the strange human ships drew closer. No one spoke, yet everyone felt the same thing, a heavy tension in the air, like standing at the edge of something ancient and powerful. Commander Wita stood in the command chamber, staring at the main display as the faded letters Earth Force glowed on the hulls of the approaching vessels. The humans hadn't sent a fleet in over 3 centuries. In fact, most believed Earth had fallen or vanished into isolation. But now, here they were, emerging from the black silence of deep space without warning. A voice came through again, calm, neutral, cold. This is Echo Command. Earth Protocol 9A engaged. We received your distress call. Preparing assistance procedures. Please stand by. No other details were given. Wita frowned. What is Earth Protocol 9A? Liren turned to him. It's not in our records. They're using old Earth military codes, ones older than even the last galactic war. Before he could respond, the human support crafts began to move. They approached with precision, each one locking onto key sections of the alien fleet. Docking clamps extended, mechanical arms aligned with ports that hadn't been used in decades. Everything moved with perfect timing, like they'd practiced this before. No one resisted. They were too weak, too curious, and strangely ... too hopeful. The first hatch opened. A tall figure stepped out, armored head to toe. Their suit was ancient in design, but polished, clean. Not a single word was spoken as the figure walked forward, scanning the alien corridors. Behind them, More followed. 6 in total, all silent, all focused. Inside the command center of Veritok, the lights flickered. Wita turned as a soft sound echoed through the hall. The main door opened, and one of the humans stepped inside. The air grew colder. The human removed their helmet. A woman, pale skin, dark eyes. Her face was calm, almost peaceful, but her presence made everyone take a step back. She didn't smile. She didn't frown. She just studied the room and said softly, "You called." We answered. YKTA tried to stay composed. "You are ... human?" The woman nodded. "One version of us?" "Yes." That answer wasn't comforting. It only raised more questions. YK, single quotes ta. "Why are you here?" No one else responded. No one even heard us. "We heard you," she said simply. "Because you spoke through the forgotten frequencies. The ones the galaxy stopped listening to. But we never did." Her tone was calm, but there was weight in every word as if history itself spoke through her. She tapped something on her wrist. Instantly holographic repair plans appeared across the main screen. Diagrams of alien systems, energy networks, reactor cores all mapped out perfectly. Waikata blinked. "You know our systems. We knew them before your fleet was built," she replied. "You used designs taken from the Council. The Council took them from others. We saw them all before. We vanished." And there it was again, that word. Vanished. YKTA stepped forward. "Why did you disappear? Where have you been all this time?" The human paused, then said, "We stepped back. Not to hide. To wait." "Wait for what?" She looked directly at him, for someone to ask for help. The room went quiet. Outside the ship, hundreds of drones moved between vessels, repairing cracks, restoring shield arrays, and powering up dead systems. In just an hour, the human support fleet had done more than any Council tech team could manage in days. The alien crew watched from the windows. Stunned. Inside the data course, information flooded in medical supplies, food packs, atmospheric, regulators, all Earth-made but updated with strange symbols and coding languages no one could recognize. YKTA leaned toward Liren and whispered, "These aren't just humans. They've changed." Liren nodded. "I think they left as one species, and returned as something more." The human woman looked around the room once more, then placed a small device on the main console. "This will keep your system stable for now. More will follow." She turned to leave, but Wita stepped forward again. "Why are you really doing this?" he asked. She stopped, not turning around. Her voice, quiet and firm, said, "Because once, a long time ago, we asked for help too. No one came." And then she walked out. Wita stood there, frozen in place. So did the rest of the crew. It was the first time in weeks that the ship didn't feel cold. For the first time, there was a light, small, distant, but real, and it had come from Earth. But even as the alien fleet slowly came back to life, questions remained. Who were these humans now? Why did they wait for a distress call lost in time? And what else had they seen, beyond the edge of the known galaxy? Whatever the answers were, one truth was clear: humanity had returned, not to conquer, not to rule, but to remind the galaxy that some promises are never forgotten. The alien fleet drifted quietly, but no longer helpless. Lights flickered back to life. Systems came online one by one. The cold silence of deep space was now filled with a quiet hum of renewed power. And everywhere, the crews of the stranded ships whispered the same word in disbelief: humans. No one had expected them to return. Most believed they were myths, stories from before the modern galaxy had formed its alliances and rules. Some thought humans were extinct. Others believed they had chosen to disappear forever, but here they were, calm, silent, efficient, and helping without asking for payment. Alliance, or recognition. Inside the alien command ship, Veritok Commander Wita stood by the main viewing panel, watching human ships move between vessels like they had done this 100 times before. Their drones repaired structural damage with quiet precision. Smaller crafts delivered supplies, medical kits, and data modules. But still, the humans said very little about who they were, what had become of Earth. "They're not acting like any species I've known," Liren said, walking up beside Wita. "Most races demand something in return: power, territory, tribute." YKTA nodded slowly. "But these humans, they act like this is their duty." Just then, the main panel lit up. A human signal was requesting direct contact. "Accept it," Wita said. The screen opened, revealing a calm, dimly lit room aboard the largest human vessel. The same woman who had entered their ship earlier now appeared, seated and silent. "This is Echo Leader," she said. "We have stabilized your life systems. Navigation is being restored. Within 40 hours, your fleet will be mobile again." Wita stepped forward. "We're grateful, but we still don't understand. Why help us?" The galaxy turned away. Even the Council refused our calls. Her voice didn't change. Still soft, still steady, because we remember what it's like to be alone in the dark. That line struck deeper than anyone expected. For a moment, no one spoke. Then she added, "We monitor old frequencies. Ones no one uses anymore. 1,000 years ago we wrote the code that now carries your distress signals. That's why we heard you." Wita looked at the others. Their distress signals had been bouncing into forgotten corners of space until a forgotten species answered. "We thought humans were gone," he said carefully, "but now, it seems, you never left." She nodded. "We never left." We stepped away to where Liren asked. "The Council has scanned every corner of known space. There's no sign of Earth, no colonies, nothing." For the first time, the woman paused. "We left behind what the galaxy could find," she said. "The rest of us moved beyond the mapped stars." Witta's brow furrowed. "You mean, you hid?" "No," she replied. "We grew quietly, patiently watching." The words carried weight, as if they had seen things the rest of the galaxy had not. Then came a surprise. Another screen lit up beside her, showing old footage, grainy black and white recordings. It showed human rescue teams helping dying worlds, stopping wars, protecting weak species. "These were our last missions before we disappeared," she said. "We helped, we saved, but each time, they forgot, or betrayed, or tried to control us." She turned her gaze to Witta again. "So we stopped showing ourselves." Witta felt a strange pressure in his chest. Shame, not just his, but shared by every species who had looked the other way for too long. "And now?" he asked. "Now, we act only when it matters, when the call is pure." Yours was. The conversation ended without warning. The screen went dark. Ikta turned to his crew. "Continue cooperating with the humans, let them finish repairs." But inside, questions were rising. Who were these humans now? How much had they changed? Were they still the same species from the stories, or something more? Hours passed, repairs continued. Some crew members spoke directly with humans and reported strange things. The human suits read minds. Their tech worked on both biological and machine systems. They used no translators, but understood every language spoken on the ships, and there was one more mystery. They never removed their armor in public. Some wondered if they even needed oxygen anymore. Others whispered that maybe these weren't humans at all, but echoes of what they once were. Witta stood in his private chamber looking out into the dark again. The human fleet remained in perfect formation, not moving unless needed, quiet, controlled, watching what kind of people stay hidden for centuries and then come back only to help others. Witta didn't know, but something told him this was only the beginning. The real reason for humanity's return was still waiting in the shadows. They came from nowhere, yet seemed to know everything. The human ships didn't boast advanced technology in the way most species expected. Their vessels weren't covered in bright lights, gleaming hulls, or complex rotating systems like the latest Council warships. No, these ships looked old, quiet, simple, and even worn. But underneath that quiet surface was something far more advanced than the alien fleet had ever seen. In the corridors of the alien command ship, Veritok engineers and officers stood in awe as Earth's machines moved through their systems with strange familiarity. Human drones repaired cracked power conduits using tools the aliens couldn't name. Their medkits revived unconscious crew members who were thought beyond saving. One drone walked through a sealed engineering bay that hadn't opened in years, and somehow activated the entire energy grid in less than a minute. Commander Wheat watched from the control room, his thoughts restless. He had seen advanced technology before, but never like this. This wasn't just a rescue, it felt like something else. Like the humans weren't just helping, they were studying. Learning, preparing. "Commander," said Liren, entering the room with a small device in her hand. This was left behind by the human team in the medical bay. "I think they wanted us to find it." The device was round and cold to the touch, made of smooth black material. It had no buttons, no screen. But when Witta held it, a quiet hum passed through the air. A hologram opened, showing an old galaxy map, one they recognized from over 200 years ago. But something was different. The edges of the map extended beyond what the alien fleet had ever seen. Stars that weren't marked in any record, systems that didn't exist on any council charts, and lines, dozens of them connecting forgotten routes across the stars. "They call this the archive network," Liren said. "At least, that's what I read in the side data. It's old Earth mapping." Witta stared at it. "But this goes beyond the known borders of the galaxy. Entire sectors we thought were uninhabitable." "Exactly," Liren replied. "I think the humans didn't disappear. I think they just went beyond." Suddenly, the control room lights dimmed. The comm system blinked again. Another transmission was coming in, this time, not from Echo Leader, it was from someone else. A calm male voice spoke, deeper and more grounded. "Alien Command, this is Archive Vessel Nader. Our records show your fleet was attacked by a gravitational event caused by a collapsed dwarf star. This data will be shared with your scientists for future navigation protection." Before YKTA could respond, a massive database link opened. Thousands of documents, star path simulations, gravity wave studies, and even weather models began downloading into the Veritok systems. Liren whispered, "They're giving us everything. No cost, no warnings," which said slowly sat down. This wasn't just a rescue. This was an exchange of knowledge, a gift so large, so valuable, that even the Council would have demanded decades of negotiations for less. And yet, the humans gave it freely. Why? Why return now, after centuries of silence? Why help without asking for anything? One of the younger officers, a quiet thinker named Vero, offered an idea. Maybe, he said. They're not here for us at all. Everyone. Vero continued. What if they didn't come because we needed saving, but because something else is coming, something they've seen? Out there, Witta stood again, uneasy now. The thought had already crossed his mind, and the more he saw of the human fleet, their quiet movements, their subtle scans, their distant formations, it didn't feel like a celebration of reunion. It felt like a preparation, as if the humans were making sure the galaxy was stable before something arrived. Later that night, a final message came through. Short, simple, your fleet is repaired. Do not follow us, do not search. Remember this moment. We do not return twice. And just like that, the human ships began pulling away. One by one, they faded into the deep. But one ship, their command vessel, remained for a few minutes longer. Inside, Witta stood at the main screen as the last Earth ship hovered outside their viewing window. Then, something strange happened. From the belly of the human ship, a small object detached. It floated toward the alien command vessel slowly, as if placed with great care. When recovered, the object turned out to be a small capsule. Inside it, a single message. We once asked for help, no one came. Now we walk alone, but we do not forget. One day, the sky will change again. Be ready. Witta didn't sleep that night. The repairs were finished. Their ships were moving. Life support was stable. Everything looked fine, but in his heart, he knew something else had started. A deeper story. A hidden truth. The humans hadn't just returned, they had left a warning behind, softly spoken, carefully placed, but impossible to ignore. And whatever was waiting in the dark corners of the galaxy, humanity had seen it first. A soft hum echoed through the decks of the alien fleet. Now fully functional, yet strangely quiet, systems were restored, lights were bright again. Life support was at full strength, but no one on board celebrated, because the humans were gone, and their silence lingered like a shadow. Commander Witta stood at the main window of the Viratak, watching the stars drift slowly by. They were free now. They could move, explore, return home. But instead of joy, there was a strange stillness inside everyone. Something about the human's final message, we do not return twice, had left a mark deeper than any wound. Liren entered the chamber, her face thoughtful. We received a transmission, she said quietly, not from the humans, from the Council. YKTA turned, surprised. The Council. Now they respond. They said they detected energy signatures around our last known location. They're requesting a full report. Witta narrowed his eyes. And what shall we tell them? That humanity, long forgotten, returned from the edge of the galaxy, fixed our fleet, shared forbidden knowledge, and vanished into the stars again. Liren didn't answer, because they both knew no one would believe it. Across the fleet, crew members replayed logs of the human visits, not just for answers, but to understand the way the humans moved, spoke, observed. They never asked questions, yet knew everything. They never demanded leadership, yet took control of every situation, calmly, with quiet authority. But then came something unexpected. On a distant support ship, a pilot named Kella found something strange left behind in one of the docking bays. It wasn't tech, it wasn't a device, it was a book, made of real paper, ancient, held together by a leather binding. On the front, a symbol, a circle of stars around a single line of text, Project Lightpath. Kella brought it to her captain, who then passed it up the chain. Within hours, it reached YK. Single quotes TA. Inside the book were handwritten pages, notes, sketches, maps. It told the story of early human exploration, how they first reached deep space, how they encountered war, how they tried to build alliances, and how they failed. Repeatedly. Each chapter ended with the same sentence. They forgot us, so we chose to forget them. But in the final section, the tone shifted. It spoke of something new, a threat that lived beyond the known systems, not an army, not a species, but something the humans called the Drift. Witta read aloud to Liren. The Drift does not conquer. It unroots, systems collapse, stars fade. Technology fails. Empires disappear, not in battle, but in silence. We saw it once, and we left to prepare. Liren leaned closer. Are they warning us? I think, Witta said slowly. They've already started defending us. Quietly, secretly. This rescue wasn't just for us. It was a test, a sign. And right then, before the weight of that thought could settle the ships, sensors lit up again. Unknown object approaching. The navigation officer said, slow. No heat, no known design. It was small. Floating toward the fleet from deep space, silent, unpowered, but perfectly timed. When it was brought aboard and scanned, it activated on its own. A projection appeared, grainy, distant, yet unmistakably human. It was Echo Leader. Her voice came through calmly, clearly. If this message reaches you, it means we are gone, and you are safe for now. But listen carefully. The galaxy is not. What do you think? There are gaps between stars where old things wait. We walk those shadows now, because someone must. She paused, then added, you are not ready. But one day, your children will be. And when they look up and wonder who answered their call, remember this Earth did. And then, the message faded. Wida stood in silence. No one in the room moved, no alarms sounded, no danger alerts followed, only stillness. But that stillness was louder than any warning. It meant something unseen had been watching, waiting, and Earth had stood in its path. That night, no one on the alien fleet slept, not because of fear, but because they all felt it now, that quiet truth. The humans hadn't just returned out of kindness, they had returned to check on the galaxy, to measure it, to see who would call for help, and who would respond. And then, they vanished again, not because their job was done, but because their real work had only just begun. And somewhere beyond the edge of all maps, Earth was still out there watching, walking, and waiting for the stars to speak again. Asterisk, the stars looked different now, not because they had changed, but because the alien fleet had. After the humans came, everything felt heavier. Every bright star was now a question, every silent signal, a mystery. The universe had always been vast, but now, it felt deep, as if something ancient and unseen lived between the stars, waiting. In the dark, Commander Wida stood alone in the observation deck of the Veritak. His reflection stared back at him in the glass, while the stars slowly drifted outside. The fleet was operational. Repairs were complete, engines were humming perfectly, but the silence the humans left behind had never truly faded. Behind him, a faint beep echoed an internal alert. A new transmission had arrived, but not on normal frequencies. It was hidden inside the data the humans had uploaded earlier. A buried protocol, invisible unless someone asked the right question. Ikta tapped the panel. The hidden file opened. It was not a video, not a voice message. It was a single sentence. Not every silence means absence. Some silences mean someone is listening. Wita leaned back, the words circling in his mind. What had the humans seen? What were they preparing for? Liren entered, holding a small data drive. We've decoded more of the human mapping logs, she said quietly. There are entire systems they visited that don't appear on any of our records. She placed the drive into the console, and a star map unfolded. Wida watched as new sectors appeared, places beyond the edge of council space, beyond even known trade routes. Dozens of systems marked with notes like, stellar instability monitoring continues. Planet abandoned, possible ancient presence, resource rich, but uninhabited, known reason. Entry forbidden, signal drift detected. What is signal drift? Wida asked. Liren shook her head. We don't know, but the same phrase appears in every sector where the humans had stayed the longest. It's as if they were tracking something. Wida stared at the star map, or something was tracking them. Suddenly, the lights dimmed. Not from power, failure, but by design. The system darkened, entering a low-power high alert state. A screen blinked open. One of the outer scout ships was sending a visual feed. A strange anomaly had appeared nearby, motionless, but unnatural. A distortion in space, like the stars behind it, had been bent, but that wasn't the alarming part. As the camera zoomed in, symbols began to appear, faint, glowing, slowly shifting. The same symbols seen on the ancient human book, Project Lightpath, the same ones on the sides of the Echo Leader's armor. And then, the object began to move. No engine flares, no heat trails, just motion, smooth and impossible. It wasn't large, no larger than a shuttle, but the moment it moved, every sensor aboard the fleet reported strange readings. Power fluctuations, minor headaches among crew, old machinery flickering as if reacting to something unseen. The object passed by without touching a single ship and disappeared into the void. No trace, no signal, no energy trail. Then a short message appeared across the human-coded channel. It watches, and we walk between it and you. Wita sat down slowly. The pieces were falling into place. The human return was never just a rescue, it was a patrol. They had come back. Not because the galaxy called for help, but because something else was listening for weakness. Waiting for species to fail. Waiting for silence. The drift wasn't a myth. It was real. And the humans had met it once before, and somehow survived. Across the fleet, the mood changed again. Not fear, not panic, but purpose. The alien crew began to document everything the humans had given them. Training manuals, navigation maps, signal analysis, all left behind without demand, as if to say, prepare yourselves. YKTA addressed the fleet through the main channel. Record everything, study everything, share nothing with the council, not yet. This knowledge was not meant for politics. It was meant for survival. In the following weeks, the alien fleet began to move through the galaxy quietly, helping where it could, repairing broken beacons, reaching out to isolated colonies. They no longer acted like a stranded fleet. They acted like watchers, like protectors, like humans once had, because in the end, it was not just the human fleet that returned, it was their purpose, their warning, and their legacy. The galaxy would go on thinking Earth had vanished, that humanity was lost. But somewhere in the vast silence, among forgotten stars and shifting shadows, they walked still, watching, guarding, preparing, and one day when the galaxy forgot again, someone else would send a signal, and once more, Earth would answer.